Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom. Today is Tuesday, May 28th, 2019. I have with me today American Man 1967, and we want to share with you some information that is actually very important, and we want you to share this if you can. Share the information, share the video, whatever you want to do. And we're going to talk about the crop catastrophe in the Midwest. The latest USDA progress report signals a nightmare scenario. And we're going to give you several scenarios in this video, but what we really want to do is just get you the information. That's the important thing. Hey, welcome aboard today, American Man. How are you doing, man?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I thought that it'd be a good idea for the two of us to join forces and let our audiences know that we do have a problem with crops here in the United States this year, the likes of which the U.S. has not seen in about roughly 140 years. This is the wettest in U.S. history for the Midwest. Lots of rain, and lots of rain means rivers, overflowing embankments, and flooding of farmlands. Now, normally that would be a good thing if that happened during the winter, but in this case it happened during the spring, which is planting season. So what happens is your farmland itself is either completely flooded or it's muddy for months, or a month, maybe 2 months after the waters have receded, and that is a condition in which farmers cannot plant in. So this situation is so bad. In fact, let's go to the livelihood, if we could, American Man, of the farmers. We have farmers that are literally going broke. They're going bankrupt right now because they don't have enough money to actually go a year without having a crop. So that's the first part of this. We actually have farmers that are going under, and that means they may not be planting next year. So let's look at this as a multi-year scenario, if you don't mind. Let's kind of take it from that point of view. Okay, but basically, this story says that literally the crop that's in the ground is roughly about, hang on, I'll actually get you the actual numbers here. Last year, 78% of all corn acreage had been planted by now. This year, the number is sitting at 49%. And the average, and the percentage of corn that has emerged from the ground by this time this year is a paltry 19% compared to 47% this time last year. That is correct because you do have southern states that have an earlier growing season. We have stuff coming out of the ground this time of year in the southern states. For instance, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, on and on. So let's look at the number for soybeans real quick. Last year, 53% of all soybean acreage has been planted by now. This year, that number has fallen to 19%. So that's actually that's pretty abysmal. So we could go up and down all the stats in this article, but I think what American Man and I want to do today is talk about the ramifications to you and your friends and your family. And that's where American Man, if you want to go ahead and jump in, and let's talk about food prices and what we expect this to represent in the grocery stores. Go for it, buddy.
Well, to be quite honest, right now in California, where I live, just take beef for an example. Beef is about $9 a pound right now, and that is just really, really high. A large size avocado costs $2 right now. And if you're saying, and what this article is saying, and what other people are saying that are on social media sites like YouTube, that food's going to skyrocket even higher. There's going to be a lot of people right now that are going to be running in the streets mad because they're going to be starving and they can't afford to even feed their families or themselves. I mean, scary. And we're not trying to do any fear porn here. We're trying to explain to you that this is what's coming. This is what's going to happen. And if you're not prepared, yeah.
Yep. Well, I see a couple of things happening here, so I'd like to add to your scenario. Not only will we see food prices go up in the grocery store, we'll also see higher gasoline prices. And the reason being, and by the way, this is not in the article, this is a TC scenario based on corn. I don't know the exact number of how much corn is produced in the United States that's expected to go into ethanol production, but it's probably pretty high. I don't know the exact number though. I wish I could give it to you. But since corn will be rare this year, ethanol is going to go up in price, and that's in most states have it in their gasoline in the United States. So we can expect gasoline prices to go higher for that alone. Plus, one more thing that I haven't reported on for almost a month now, and that was the U.S. Congress was actually pretty much unified, unfortunately, in raising gasoline taxes this summer. The first federal gasoline tax rise since 2001, summer of 2001. That's the last time we saw them raise the gasoline tax. And now there's no actual figures out yet, but there's been some whispers that it might be as high as 25 cents per gallon. So we'd have an automatic increase of 25 cents per gallon just because of the tax increase. But then it would go up also because of the corn or the ethanol, increased prices. So we'll have a double whammy of absolute catastrophe. We have gasoline going up at the same time we have food prices going up. So that will definitely put the economy in a recession, in my opinion. Where I think we're already there, but it will definitely put fuel on the fire, in my opinion. Now, the reason American Man and I wanted to do this video, today, is to give you guys some very basic common sense stuff you can do right now that will help you when food prices are expected to start. You should start seeing an increase in price in July. That's when basically we expect this to happen. So think the 4th of July. And what I'm going to recommend is basically, I have been a big proponent of storable food for a long time. But you guys don't, if this happens in July, you don't have a whole lot of time. So maybe it's a good time to actually shop the grocery stores right now for deals on canned goods. You're talking about your legumes, your baked beans. Make sure you get some protein. Get your canned veggies. Your peas, your corn. Whatever you want for your veggies, and stock up because if this scenario is correct, and by the way, I had to add at the beginning of this, farmers are going bankrupt because it's absolutely true. They're going bankrupt right now because they can't go a year without planting. The margins are too tight. It's not like farmers, have an extra $500,000, in the account that they can, ride out a year, and financially make it. The margins are just too tight. So that's kind of my advice. I know that silver is a really good deal right now, and I've talked about that quite a bit too. But you could do silver and and canned goods. But I don't know, American Man, your thoughts?
Well, I just wanted to go over some things for the listeners, and I wanted to point some of these things out that you had earlier told me or shared with me, and that is died in these floods. And around, still breathing above ground, that are going to be sold into the marketplace for food are fed with grains like corn. And corn's one of the largest hit grains or crops this year that have been destroyed. And so that's going to force meat pretty much to go up. And that's why I said what I said earlier in this podcast about the price of beef. And I'm not sure how this is going to affect, stuff like fruits and vegetables and produce. Excuse me. California, and I'm sure abroad, we've already seen a very uprise, for lack of a better term, of price and food in the grocery store. I mean, it seems like everything in 2019 has gone up, skyrocketed. Price of, tires, gas, cars, everything seems to be going up. And then now we have this whole thing taking place and playing out. And so it just seems like times are getting pretty scary. What I would like to recommend to the viewers and subscribers of both of our channels is go, like you said, to the store and try to stock up on unperishable foods, but also buy as many seeds if you can get your hands on, and find a small area around your house and try to start planting your own food. I mean, because this is how serious this really is. This isn't fear porn. We're not trying to get views here. This is about educating the public as as quickly as possible, especially my friends and my family members that are subscribed to my channel as well. I want to encourage you to go out here and start stocking up as much as you can on food as quickly as possible. I want to encourage you to do that with an urgency because this isn't a game and this isn't a joke and we're not laughing.
Yeah, well said. In fact, talking about the seeds and planting a garden, absolutely. In fact, I strongly recommend that as well. Thank you for bringing that up. That is, by the way, gang, here's what we're talking about. We're talking about simple math. We know that the middle class itself is literally buying groceries on credit cards, paying interest. I've done a podcast about this in the past. And because of I got a lot of feedback from our Discord group about that, and they said I needed to focus and make that a video all by itself, which I will. But if people are literally putting their groceries, and we're talking middle class here, putting groceries on credit cards and not paying off that credit card at the end of every month, they're actually already paying interest on their groceries now. So they're paying more for the groceries than they should because they don't have enough money to pay for groceries. So whether this is just the middle class making bad decisions with their money, or is it because the inflation's at 10%, but people are not getting 10% income increases from their job every year? So basically, this is something that we all need to take a look at very, very seriously. What we could do to stave off any problems in the future. We're talking about financial problems that you could develop because gasoline and groceries went up. And usually when gasoline goes up, everything else goes up too. So we're talking about a double whammy to groceries because, the lack of food and because of the fuel costs going up. So this is something that hasn't happened yet. It hasn't materialized yet. At least where I'm at in Southwest Missouri, grocery prices are still kind of stable right now. But we do anticipate they will start going up in July, is what we're thinking. And by the way, a lot of other YouTubers are talking about this too. This isn't just us. This Zero Hedge article that we're looking at right now, basically you guys can go ahead and look at it, but it encompasses a lot of other things. For instance, the storms that we've been having, all the tornadoes that have been dropping and the damage those have been doing as well. Just a lot of things going on that say that we should probably have a little bit of storable food. Okay, well, I think we've covered that pretty good. American Man, any final thoughts?
I just want to stress to everybody that's listening to this podcast, please take this serious. This isn't a game. This isn't a joke. We're not trying to impress anybody. We're not trying to look good. This is a fact, and this is coming.
Yep, and it's all groceries too. And by the way, American Man brought up the fact that we lost some 800,000 head of cattle in the floods that happened in the Midwest this spring. God only knows how many pigs and chickens, but so the meat, the meat products, the beef products, the pork products, the chicken products, those will be going up as well. So I mean, it's just kind of all around. Basically, other piece of advice I have for you: if you have a local farmer who has cattle on his property and he actually sells the beef to his neighbors and everything, find him and see if you can have a deal with him. Equally, most people in rural areas have places they can go. They can get eggs because a lot of people have chickens in rural areas, so you can get some eggs cheaper than you can get at the grocery store. There are other alternatives as well, but planting a garden makes sense and it's cheap, it's easy. Yes, it is time consuming. You got to weed it, you got to plant, all that fun stuff. But at the same time, it will help your budget. It will help your budget. Plus, that's a great thing to teach your kids. A lot of kids today don't even know how to garden. I come from a generation where all kids gardened, but that's kind of lost, I think, these days. But
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm afraid these younger people today don't really know how to be self-sustainable at all,
you
unfortunately.
yep.
But
So
anyways,
yep, that I think we pretty much covered it all that we needed to. But at any rate, I'm gonna and American Man I think has echoed this before. Please share this information, even if you're not sharing the video. tell your friends at work. Tell your family
Right.
about it. And the only way I think, because this is kind of important, the only way I think that people wouldn't want to share this information is they're psychopaths or sociopaths and they want to see their friends and family starve. That would be the
Right.
only contingency where I see you don't want to share this information. I am not a back up the truck guy. I'm not saying back up the truck to the grocery store and hoard all the canned goods you can. I'm not saying that either. But it is a good idea to have, some additional food in the house. If prices go up, you can weather it better financially if you have food that you've previously purchased at lower prices. That's the mindset here. That's the mentality here. Okay.
And I would like to say one more thing, and that is if you are living in places like California or any social democratically run state, I would highly recommend that you go out and buy yourself a gun
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's an American right. Everyone should exercise, but if basically food prices get out of control and wages and EBT cards don't come up to match it, there might be some crime. Some people trying to feed their families. So I
Right.
think that's what you're referring to, correct?
Right. Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
So yeah, lead bullion along with your gold and silver bullion. There you go.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We thank you for spending a little bit of time with American Man 1967 and Truth, Money, and Freedom. I want to say to each and every one of you, no matter what platform you're watching this video on, how important you are. And thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you for liking the videos. Thank you for subscribing to our channels. Thank you for sharing the videos. Uh, if you weren't here doing that, we wouldn't be doing this. So thank you very
That's
much.
right.
Yep. Okay. So signing off from TC at Truth, Money, and Freedom and from American Man, from American Man 1967. You guys have a wonderful day. God bless you all.